everybody, for the first time in 2023, cue the rock flute. We have our very first course preview of the year for the Bali Hope Swimrun in Indonesia in late September. Strap in and hear all about it.
Plus some rock flute.
Welcome to the Low Tide Boys, a swimrun podcast. I'm Chip.
And I'm Chris, and this is episode 167 of the show. We've got something special for everyone this week. We are sharing a course preview for the Bali Hope Swimrun that's taking place from September 27th through September 30th in Indonesia. And if you're like us and thought you had us at Bali, then you're going to love our conversation with race founder, race director, Tom Hickman, coming up soon.
But first, training update. So training's starting to ramp up. Chris is officially cleared. Well, he's been cleared to start thinking about swimming again.
Yes.
We're both very excited for him. We also recently made a pact after a particularly wet and wild trail run on Sunday that our weekend long runs would be hashtag swimrun trainings would be 1, non-negotiable, and 2, they're going to take place rain or shine, hashtag no dogging it.
Yeah, I got this idea.
Good,
So last Sunday we had a pretty, I would say like incredibly wet.
I mean, it was dumping
sloppy
from getting out of the car.
Yeah, the whole time. It was raining the whole time. Yeah, and I was messaging you that night. It's like, you know what? That's probably really good for us, and we should just make a pact right now that just doesn't matter the conditions.
Yeah.
For the Sunday long run or swim practice, they're just, unless it's like, physical danger.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to be in danger.
But absent that, which that's a pretty high bar, going for it.
Yeah, I'm into it. I'm into it, and it embodies the swim run spirit, which is why I think it's good for us.
Yeah.
Now on to this week's shout out.
Yeah, so this week we're shouting out our newest patron on Patreon, Daniel Kernel. We really, really appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Speaking of Patreon, we recently hosted our first Patreon meetup of the year, and we had a great time chatting with everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely got us super energized to keep putting out swimrun content for everyone. We were talking about that after as well. It's like I just got super pumped up to just
get out there.
Just keep
see
putting
people
stuff
again.
out there. Yeah. And Dave, make sure you're keeping your fingers pointed towards the bottom of the pool during your pool phase.
Flip turn.
We have a bonus shout out for Mark Stetler. About a month ago, we gave a shout out to the country of Switzerland for making it into the top 10 in terms of downloads. Well, Mark reached out to let us know that he was likely personally responsible for this since he downloaded our entire back catalog of episodes so that he could binge listen to the show.
Wow.
So strong work, and bless you. I mean,
yes. Thanks for pumping the numbers, Mark.
Yeah, dude.
Really appreciate it. Nice work. So that puts the U.S. at 1. Then I think it's the UK.
I think it's Sweden.
Sweden has taken over 2.
UK,
and then Switzerland.
Well, France.
Oh, France.
Canada.
Oh boy.
Switzerland's number 10. No offense, Switzerland.
Oh, sorry, Switzerland.
You're working your way up.
Yeah, but they're number 10. You're coming up on France, who's in 9.
Yeah.
So all it's going to take is one more person like Mark to download the entire back catalog, and Switzerland can overtake France in terms of listenership, if that's important to the listeners.
Yeah.
Now on to Wisdom Nugget of the Week. This one comes from Robert Pirsig. The only Zen that you find on the top of mountains is the Zen you bring up there. We ran to a top of a mountain on Sunday.
We did. I think what this quote is really getting at, and this is something I've been thinking about a lot lately, is just like, hey, you think you're going to achieve this goal and that's where you're going to find clarity, happiness, achievement, all that stuff? No, man. It's a moving target.
You got it all wrong.
Moving target. If you think you're going to find happiness, you better bring it with you because it's not going to miraculously appear when you hit that finish line. So
I like that.
Enjoy the journey.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I feel like how our training has shifted over the past few years to kind of bring it to like a tactical, real. It's like we're embracing the journey of the training to get us to our races. Like that's part of the fun.
Yeah.
And if you approach it with that manner, I think it'll it'll help everything. Feels like.
Yeah.
But anywho, strap in, folks. We got a chocked full segment of Feats of Endurance this week.
Oh yeah.
Take it away, Chipper. Well, since we haven't had this segment in several weeks, so we have a list of recognitions to give out, and this is in no particular order. Big ups to Marion Fendler for running her first marathon, part of the PB and Banana Squad up in Petaluma. Woot woot, way to be. The Mestero twins for racing the Trans-Cape Swimrun in Australia. Just keep that note in your head.
Yeah.
You might hear more about that later.
Let's stick a pin in that one.
Let's double click on that later. Roxy Visser for swimming 11,000 yards in Rot's Nest Island in Perth, which is in Western Australia. Way to be. That is probably summertime for you, so that was probably a nice, pleasurable thing.
Yeah, so that island, you can kind of see it from the city of Perth, and I mean it's a long swim.
For all the coffee heads out there, that's where the flat white originated, I believe, was in Australia. And with the shoe-in win, Bronwyn and Greg Dirksen, a.k.a. the Boston Wet Sox, for posting multiple workouts in Puerto Rico, which is an automatic victory for Feats of Endurance.
That's true.
I think they knew it. Bronwyn won best title if there was an additional one to give. So way to go on that. Hopefully got a good tan in Puerto Rico. And Derek Rosner for posting more workouts from Puerto Rico. This is he's claimed multiple Puerto Rico auto.
Yeah.
As he should.
Hey, you know what? When you live in the East Coast, it's really easy to get Puerto Rico. I'm glad he's taking advantage of it. Derek, incidentally,
I saw he went down there with the fam.
Yeah, and he's training for UTMB.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a sporty.
Him and his son Jet. I hope we see them again at Casco Bay. I always love running into the Rosners there.
Definitely.
Now, you're wondering, where are you guys finding all this stuff? Well, all these cool people are in the Low Tide Boys Strava Club with tons of other swim runners. We're over 500 now, as they're training for life stuff, being a parent, being a dog dad, plant mom, whatever it is. You can train for it on Strava, join the club, get kudos, and maybe get a shout out. Now, over to the news desk for This Week in Swimrun.
All right, now for the news. We will keep this edition short because we have a great course preview coming up, so we want to get right to that. But we have a couple of new race announcements from the past few weeks. Monaco Swimrun, with a little tip of the hat for the double umlaut over the O's, they recently launched, and they plan on hosting their first race in the Principality of Monaco in 2024. That's very exciting.
Nice.
Swimrun Whistler also recently announced their inaugural swimrun, which is scheduled for July 16th in British Columbia, Canada. Registration is open now, and also, yay, more swimruns in the Western Hemisphere.
Go Americas.
Let's do this. Over in the Canary Islands, the Swimrun Series Canarias has open registration for their Tenerife swimrun on May 6th and their Gran Canaria swimrun on June 10th. Both these races look spectacular. So if only we lived in Europe and or had unlimited sources of income, our bucket list will be much shorter than what it is.
We could start chipping away at it.
Start chipping away at it. It's good. It's going to take us like a lifetime to chip away at this rate. Anyway, that's it for this week. Reach out to us if there's any swimrun news you'd like for us to share on the show.
Yes. Now for a little show business. So we have a few new upcoming YouTube videos coming out. They're right now in the editing bay. We have our editor, a.k.a. us, locked in the editing bay, editing away feverishly to get these out on our YouTube channel. So one, smash the subscribe button. Make sure you're subscribed over there. These videos are Swimrun 101 training. So a little bit of a recap of our recent podcast. We've been getting a lot of great reception about how that podcast has been. So we're putting a video out there to hit on YouTube. And then it's the time of year. Everyone's getting their gear set up, fiddling with things, figuring things out. So we're going to drop a simple mount pool buoy setup. So how to make it, one, spoiler, it's really simple.
Yes.
Hence the name. And then how to use it, how to get it mounted after the race and get it on your back. So if you're just starting out, these videos will be really helpful for you. Or if you're like me, I'm switching my mount to the simple mount this year. I'm really excited for that. So smash that subscribe button and see those later on this week. Now, with no further ado, let's jump into our course preview of the Bali Hope Swimrun with race director Tom Hickman.
Yeah, so the Bali Hope Swimrun is a unique event, a very unique event taking place on the island of Libongan in Bali. This small event is big on its community impact and reverence for the beauty of the region. It's also Southeast Asia's original swim run, which Tom is claiming it. We're claiming it too. We don't know of any other swim run in Indonesia. But it was great to chat with Tom to get the origin story for this race, as well as get an overview of the race weekend, the course, and the charitable impact that it makes. It is so cool that events like these exist, and we encourage everyone to check out the Bali Hope Swimrun website and consider adding this race to your bucket list. Obviously,
Yeah. And upgrade options available for the
you want a villa? No
problem. Villas or yurts or whatever they're in. But if you want to bring the family, we heard it's a great
and it's a multi-day experience.
You go into the bubble.
Swim run
bubble.
The Bali bubble.
Bali bubble.
Yeah, but this is a great course preview. It's a little bit different than the ones we've done in the past. This is essentially interview format where Tom wasn't in Bali. He was in the UK on holiday.
Yeah.
So that worked out really great for us from a time zone perspective. But yeah, this was an awesome conversation. And I just love seeing Chipper, how people find ways to make swim runs work and just get inspired and they try to put on an awesome course. And spoiler alert, the first Bali Hope Swimrun won Annika Eriksson, multiple world champion. She's like, I'm going to go check it out. And she did. She had a great time.
Nice. I can't wait to hear more. I'm going to keep listening. Why don't you join me as we jump into the interview with Tom Hickman, the Bali Hope Swimrun course preview.
Very excited about this episode. Joining us is the founder of Bali Hope Swimrun, Tom Hickman. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Great to be here. I've been enjoying your Instagram feed for a long time. It's been keeping me smiling. So great to meet in person.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. So we love how this interview even came to happen. Again, following each other on Instagram. You posted something, be like, oh, that's so funny, or something on a post, and it was like, hey, would you like to come on the show? And you're based in Bali, but you happen to be in the UK for a while, so I was like, perfect. Time zones, we can work with this, we can make it happen, so we're so happy that you're here. And what we'd like to do, we're going to do kind of a course preview on the Bali Hope Swimrun, but why don't you tell us a little bit on when you kind of came up with the idea to put on this race, and kind of what did the early years look like for this event?
Yeah, sure. So I moved to Bali in 2014 and I went for a 2-month holiday and ended up staying like a lot of people. It's a bit of a cliche now, but it was there pretty much full time from 2014.
Wow.
And in 2017, I had a kind of crazy moment and decided to try and run across the island, which is a double marathon. So I attempted that in 2017 and then started a ultra marathon on the island, which has been going since 2018. And I got a bit high on organizing events, and I think I listened to a Rich Roll podcast, heard about him doing an Otillo, and went, hang on, there's no swim run in Bali, and there are these two beautiful islands just off Bali, about half an hour by boat, called Lombongan and Cheningen. Looked at the map and thought, hang on, it's got all the facets of a great course, and the Bali Hope Ultra raises money to put local kids there through school. So all our events have an impact element, and Bali has a big problem with plastic pollution, especially these two small islands. So I'd read that the island had a community recycling centre. So I thought, let's bring a swim run community together to bring swim run to Southeast Asia and help fund this community project in the process. So yeah, I kind of cobbled it together. It's always weird doing the event for the first time. But yeah, it happened in 2018, again in 2019. Bit of a pause for COVID, and then it's back after nearly a 4-year break in September. So really excited to be bringing it back. And yeah, it's a 4-day event, so everybody gets to come together for a few days, see the impact they're making, and then the race is on day 3 of September the 28th. So yes, it's been great. It's been quite a lot of work putting it together, but always attracts the best people. It's a lot of fun.
Well, we're biased, but we think swim runners are the best people.
Yeah. We are a little biased, though, Chris. It is good to recognize that. But how was?
Yes, it's definitely for people who are willing to try something new and just maybe don't take themselves so seriously. I don't know. It's funky sport. We've been super lucky with who we've attracted. So
yeah, how was the turnout in that first event? I know probably sometimes it feels like I could have one person show up or 100.
Yeah. So exactly. So I managed to get 10 teams together year one.
Nice.
But we were super blessed to have a couple of Otillo or Ortilo, if that's better pronunciation, world champions coming. So yeah, we had them, and we had former Indonesian Olympian, an Indonesian supermodel, some just brilliant triathletes, and then total newcomers. So we had as always, we had a massive range from elite to literally some guy who hadn't run much more than 5K before he started training. So that's kind of the Bali Hope vibe. It's everyone's welcome, lots of different levels. Everyone has a good party afterwards. So yeah, that's pretty small. I mean, it's a super small event, and hoping to grow it each year, but it just takes time to get traction, get word of mouth, and share the story of what you're doing. So this year we're aiming for 25 teams of 2. Again, pretty small. A lot of Aussies, some Americans, some Brits, sure. Indonesians.
Nice.
So
yeah. I like how you do the 4-day event. They do this for Attila as well. They call it the bubble. You kind of you get into the bubble your first day there, and then you're hanging out with all the same people, and then at the end of the thing, everyone goes their own separate ways. But for that time when you're together, Chris and I really noticed the bonding and the shared experience is just unmatched for any other sort of endurance event that we've ever been to.
Yeah, it's like
100%. 100%. I get accused of having started a cult sometimes. The friendships, especially on the ultramarathon, we do. It's about 30 people. The friendships that are formed. Actually, we're just waiting for the first Bali Hope baby. We've had a couple of Bali Hope relationships. We're just waiting for the first child to arrive through the friendships that we made. But no, I totally agree. It's special, isn't it? It's I think it's the shared experience, isn't it? It's the shared adversity and special. And I think that's what I think a lot of people outside of the bubble or the cult or whatever they just think, it's just a race, but obviously it's much more. And I guess the community you built is testament to that as well, isn't it? Just the friendships you make.
Yeah,
totally.
I really like the green aspect of it with the cleanup. I mean, that's something that Attila has also done as part of their races as well. A few days before the race, they'll have a kind of a beach cleanup where everyone will go through and pick up the trash, which is a very lightweight version of probably what's needed down in Bali. So walk us through a little bit about that, the environmental aspect of it as well, please.
Yeah, so I think Indonesia is a massive place and super fast growing economy, but they just don't have the infrastructure. They don't have a legacy of public investment in waste disposal, recycling, and so a lot of the projects that tackle that are from the grassroots. They're just communities who come together and go, right, we need to find a way to protect resources and recycle things and clean up the mess. And Lumbongan is the perfect example because it's a population of probably 3,000-4,000 people, but then tens of thousands of tourists come. And 25 years ago, the main sources of income on the island were basically fishing, seaweed farming, and and a bit further back than that was basically piracy. It was known as kind of Pirates Island. And then the island next to it, which is called Penida, used to be a penal colony. They used to put all the prisoners on there because they knew once they're on there, they couldn't escape. So it's got a really fascinating history. And it's still, in some ways, quite a wild place, which I guess is perfect for swim run, which is kind of a wild sport in the sense that it just evolved and it's very much connected to nature. So, we just, we raised maybe $30,000-$40,000 for this community project, recycling project, and some education projects, and goes a hell of a long way on an island where the average income is probably a couple of thousand a year. It can really really help. So we've just seen that, and we've seen the impact grow over the last few years. So it's just cool to be able to connect to that. And obviously, as a tourist or an expat, you come into that context with loads of privilege. You've got a different set of resources, different set of assets, and it's cool to do some. I guess it is. It's a bit of tourism in a way, but to really leave a legacy and just connect to the community on a different level, connect to the land and the water and the environment on a different level. It's cool. It's grassroots and kind of human scale. Bali Hope's always been about kind of human scale races in terms of the size of the group and what we're doing. So the impact's pretty kind of simple in a way and understandable, which I like. We visit the recycling centres to see where the fundraising's gone. We visit the schools we've helped. So we do that on day 2 of the event in the morning, a couple of hours just doing that. And then the afternoon of day 2 is just kind of race, sort of rest and relax, get to know the islands, and then the race is on day 3. So it's a big part. And then we do a bit of a beach cleanup on the morning after the race. Everyone's a bit worse for wear after the party, but it's a good kind of moment to reflect on what we've achieved and just tell some war stories and
that's the best part. Yeah. Everyone sharing their war stories about what adversity they had or what went well for them, and then everyone's sharing their outlook as well.
Yeah, exactly, and so we're just excited to bring it back, and I think everybody, especially post pandemic and the lack of events for a couple of years, it's just I think people savor even more the connection and the chance to race and do something cool. So definitely for me as an organizer, it's just you put quite a lot of graft in with your laptop and the old marketing and the Instagram and stuff, and then when you see everybody come together, that's really the juice of it. So can't wait. It's been a fun journey towards it, and then I guess like any event, it's just trying to evolve it and make it better and make the course more challenging. I think the first year we did it, we had the Ortillo guys come over. And I was like, hang on, I've never organised a swim run before. We've got the kind of world experts on it. It was a little bit intimidating. They were the nicest.
I could see that.
Making the race a bit more challenging, longer. We start the race from a catamaran. We take everybody about 400 meters out to sea and start from a boat, which is quite funky.
Yeah, I mean that's always great. There aren't that many races that are swim runs that actually start with a swim.
Yeah.
So it's a long running joke. It should really have been called a run swim in the sport because they usually start with a run. But yeah, let's talk about the course because as you mentioned, Indonesia is a huge place, 17,000 islands, something like that. So clearly, it seems like
the world's your oyster down there.
Possibilities are limitless. But let's talk about this race and just can you give us a flavor? We know it's like about 20K of running and about 3K of swimming.
Correct. Yeah.
But just give us a little overview of what the course looks like. Yeah.
So as I said, we start from a boat, which is very kindly loaned to us by a diving school, World Diving. They every year giving us the boat. It's very kind of them. So it starts from a boat, and then the water's not very deep. it's probably deepest bit over 2 meters. So no one's feeling like, wow, I'm way out offshore. So 400 meter swim in, and then running up a beach onto the main island, which is Lombongan. And then the longest run is the first run leg, and it's basically a run around the perimeter of the island to a lagoon, separates Lombongan Island from Cheningen Island. And then it's about a 400 or 500 meter swim across that lagoon diagonally onto Cheningen. And then there's another run about a couple of kilometers, and then a small looped swim off Cheningen. And then a run loop of Cheningen about 5K, and then back across the lagoon. And then we use that lagoon for basically 4 swims to build up the swim distance. And then another loop around Cheningen, and then back onto Lombongan, and then a kind of 3K run to the finish. So it's definitely for me, I wouldn't see it as a sprint, but for the elite guys, they see it as a sprint version of the swim run. The winners might come in 2.5 hours.
Nice.
In the middle, it's probably 3.5, and then the beginners maybe hit 4 hours. So they're out. It's
a good day still.
Yeah, it's and it's pretty. I guess the main kind of conditions element are two. One is it's pretty hot. Gets up to probably high 20s Celsius, and it's pretty hot out there running wise. The water temperature is pretty good. It's a little bit tidal, so there's probably only one day every 6 weeks where you can actually do the race where the tides are right. So we have to be really careful in choosing the date of the run. But it's the running's on road, nearly exclusively on road, and it's probably 10% is track. And again, most of the swimming's within a depth of no deeper than 2 meters, and a bit of swimming past some seaweed farms, which is fun, and no sharks, which I just put that out there.
There you go. It's a good, no sharks. It's great for marketing.
Exactly.
No sharks and warm weather.
Yeah.
So, it's a funky course. I mean, it's interesting designing a swim run when you're not an expert, and when there's quite tricky tide movements and the water depths really vary. So, it took a while to kind of time to design the route and time the route with the tides. Was a kind of like bit of 3D chess, but we're pretty happy with what we've got. And
that does seem like the added bit of complexity there with the tides, especially at such a 6 week. You got to really have your moon phases dialed in, I guess.
Exactly. I've been all on the magicseaweed.com website. I've got a premium subscription to that. So
nice.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, Tom, you're mentioning sort of designing a swimrun course, because I think, most race directors, you've done ultra races and things like that. Once you add the element of being able to just hit a body of water and swim across it, it really just opens up all these possibilities as to what's possible in terms of racing and what type of experience you want to give people. When you were designing the course, were you sort of having that experience, just like, oh man, let's just swim to the penal colony and like run around there, swim back? Like, it seems totally doable.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's so you got Lombongan and Cheningen really close to each other, and then you've got about a kilometer, maybe 500 meters to the penal colony, which is a much bigger island called Nusa Penida, and the current that stretch of water is really, really dangerous. And so immediately was obvious that we couldn't use that stretch of water. But that's the thing, that there's so many possibilities of how you could design it. And that can be quite confusing at first, because you got to narrow it down, get the distances in, and get the timings right. And it was kind of a challenging process, but there were obviously some parameters put in by nature, and then the other thing that's quite fun is always in Bali, they have so many ceremonies. There's always, they celebrate the full moon, the black moon, and there's so many ceremonies. The last race we had, the runners were running past big Balinese processions and running past temples that were being used for ceremonies, and you get a really unique aspect in terms of that, and so it is very much a kind of Balinese experience as well as a swim run. Obviously, you're running through the communities, and some guy was commenting that he was running past a couple of cows being pulled down the road. So yeah, there's definitely some unique aspects, and I think we definitely get some funny looks from the locals, like what are these guys doing on our, kind of, it's not what they're used to. So
we're used to those looks, though.
Yeah,
we're definitely used to it.
Yeah.
I think that's really great. I mean, from I've never been to Bali, but my understanding is that the culture and the people are just super welcoming and just like a great atmosphere. So I'm assuming just like the cultural experience of going down there to do a race or just to vacation should be a draw for people, because it's just such a unique place to go and visit.
100%. Yeah, Bali is a really fascinating place with so many different aspects to it. Obviously, some of it has been over touristed and is you could be in Cancun, you could be in any other big kind of overdeveloped tourist area, but 90% of the island is still pretty untouched, and Lombongan and Cheningen are, there's some tourism there, but generally it's really it's a beautiful place, and the culture is really vibrant, and you don't really feel like a tourist there so much. It's much more undeveloped, and like you said, it's the people are so welcoming, and I think a lot of people say when they touch down in Bali, they feel super welcome, but two, they kind of have a strange sense of being at home, because they don't feel they're in a foreign country, even though the culture is very different. It's incredibly welcoming and accessible and safe, and I kind of wish it was I think a lot of people there wish it was a bigger kept secret than it is. A lot of people know about it, but and they know about it for good reasons. It's magic. And I mean, I've spent probably the last 8 years. I've probably been there for 5 or 6 years in total. And the longer you're there, the more you realize you're just scratching the surface of the culture, and it's got this feeling where you come to Bali and you feel things are possible. You can invent an ultramarathon, you can create a swim run, you can just do things that you just wouldn't necessarily think of doing so much if you're in a kind of 9 to 5 back home, or doing a corporate job or something like that. So it's got a special feeling to it.
Love it.
Nice.
I love it. So why don't you walk us through? So this is a multi-day event. Share with us kind of like what the itinerary looks like. Let's say someone's listening to this and they're like, I'm looking at flights right now. I want to go.
I want to jump off a catamaran.
Yeah. Anytime you can jump off a catamaran, recommend it.
So people normally fly into Bali mainland, and then what our team members are doing is they're getting we'll meet them at the port. One of the ports in Bali, there are fast boats that take people to Lombongan. It's about a 30-minute ride by fast boat. So you have a couple of nights on Bali, come meet us at the port. We'll bring you over on the fast boat to Lombongan. And then day one of the event, or the event starts on day one, which is the afternoon of Wednesday, the 27th of September. Have a welcome reception for the team. Accommodations included in the event. Everyone's kind of really close together just by this beautiful little beach resort. So we have a team dinner that night, welcome reception, and then all the kind of team breakfasts and meals are at this beach club. Day two, we have breakfast, then we visit the community recycling centre and the schools that we've supported with the fundraising. evening of day 2, again, there's a dinner and race briefing, safety briefing. The race starts about 7 a.m. on the morning of day 3, is over by midday of day 3, and there's a lunch and a medal ceremony and podium, handing out trophies, etc. And then we always have a big party on the night of day 3 in a private villa. Always gets quite, always just has a lot of letting off of steam, put it that way. And then everyone's best buddies by then. And then, breakfast on day 4, and then fast boats back to the mainland. Some people stay on the island a bit longer. Some people stay on Bali a bit longer. A lot of Australians coming. So that's the itinerary. We want to do something that really supports everybody to have that connection and just can arrive at the same time and share the whole experience. So
do people come with? This you probably see where this question is coming from.
Are you leading the witness, Chris?
I am leading the witness. Is it? Do people come with their families?
Yes, absolutely. Some do. Some bring racing partners. Some bring non-racing partners. Some bring kids. There are some villa upgrade options, so people can grab a small villa for the event if they want. Totally. And we always try and, because the event's pretty small, we always try and, if someone's kid wants to be in the support crew and be on one of the energy stations or, be at the start line or the finish line, we really try and make that super accessible. So
that's cool.
And then I think Annika Eriksson might be coming back. We're just confirming on that. But she was thinking of bringing her family over, her kids over. And we love it when that happens. And it's hope, I think for people bringing partners or kids as well, it's probably a really good component of a longer holiday on Bali, especially if we're coming from a long way. It's, come for 2 weeks, have some time either side just to explore Bali and especially if it's a long flight. So.
Yeah, and the weather's a lot nicer. You don't need so much neoprene to carry with you on the flight. You just bring your trunks or something.
Yeah, exactly. Bring a really light tri-suit or something like that, and you're good to go. And I think we'll have people coming from the expat community too. So if you want to plug into people who live on Bali full time and get their insights on what it's like to live there and hang out there, there's no one better really. You'll just automatically meet people and get a really good under the skin kind of experience rather than just a kind of standard tourist experience. I always worry about people coming to Bali for just a short time without meeting too many people that live there or the local community, because they'll miss out on stuff. They're just in a luxury hotel for 2 weeks. So this is a really good way to get under the skin of the island and just understand it a bit better. Take part in a Southeast Asian's original swim run, as I like to say.
No better way to explore a new place. I mean, I know when Chris and I, one thing that we really like doing is when we're out of these new places is just going even for a little run around town and just checking out what the places are. So what a cool way to experience a brand new area that you've been to than doing a swim run on it and swimming across the different islands.
Yeah, so true, isn't it? I think just physically exerting yourself on the land and in the water gives you physically connects you, doesn't it? Rather than just being on a sun lounger or in a tour bus or something. So
I was just going to say double-decker open-air tour bus. Those are nice, but not the same as, running through it. Yeah, exactly. So Southeast Asia's original swim run, I think you can totally own that. I don't know of any other race that's happening there, and I scour Instagram for any mention of races all over the world. What does the future hold for this event? Obviously, it's coming back for the first time. Do you have plans for growing it, doing other events? Give us a little inkling into what the next few years look like for you. Yeah,
it's a really great question. And after 5 years on the project, it's kind of, you've got to keep evolving, haven't you? So the project started with the ultra marathon, which is happening again this May for the 4th time, which is beautiful event over 7 days with the same concept, with the race, with the run in the middle on the weekend, and then 3 days either side. Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, like you said, Indonesia's got 17,000 islands. So yeah, it's kind of like, well, if there's so many opportunities to develop other races. I think the constraint is the time it takes to find the best location, design the race, and build the community around it. So I'm hoping just to, thinking long term, I love this race to be around in 10, 15, 20 years. So just still putting down the foundations, to be honest, just still trying to make the Bali Hope Swimrun the best event it can be, give people the best experience possible, and then see how that evolves. We've got this amazing community in Australia now, based on the kind of, in inverted commas, cult that's formed around the Bali Hope Ultra. It's just, there's such amazing people that have come several times to the Ultra. Some of them have been coming to the swim run too. So it's just building out that community in terms of its depth and its kind of size, and listening to them and designing things that build community and make a difference on a human scale. So I'd love to do more. I did actually, one of the team members of the original Bali Hope Ultra, he very sadly lost a family member in the Christchurch shootings.
Oh man!
So we organised an ultra marathon in Christchurch, New Zealand, to fundraise for the Red Cross in that country as a response to that. And that was a really cool thing to do. I think it's just making sure all the events you do are sustainable, because they get, the first time you do something takes hundreds of hours, and then every time you do it afterwards takes, you've got something to build on. So it's just building slowly, I think. We organized an ultra triathlon during lockdown just for expats on the island, which was fun. But yeah, it's, I think still putting down foundations, and the Aotearoa model of 17 years is a guide to how long it takes to build. I think
for sure.
It just takes time and consistency. I guess like your guys' brilliant advice on training, all the really good shows you do on how to train. It's consistency and building year on year, isn't it, to get to the level you want to get to. So we're still early. I'm still learning. It's still early days. So just try and make each event better than the last, I think, is the key.
Nice.
I mean, that seems like a very grounded approach to it. And I think, when people reach out to us and are like, oh, we want to put on a swim run, we're a triathlete company. And it's just like, yeah, we're already putting on a triathlon, so let's just put up some cones and some transitions and get some of the swim run money that's around. Those races don't seem to be as successful or as interesting for people. I think it's the approach that you're bringing to it is such a swim run approach.
Yeah.
If we're going to keep talking about this cult, it's very
aligned.
apropos aligned with their cult values of, racing in interesting places, having a commitment to leaving it better than we found it, kind of thing. Yeah. And having these shared experiences, which in our experience, every swim run we've done, the community vibe has been the same. And I think I would wager that the vibe at Bali Hope would be exactly the same as we've seen in Sweden or US or, all the places that we've raced, which is just Sweden and the US. But yeah, I mean, I think that's really cool. So I guess that's less of a question and more of a comment, and, curious what you think about it in terms of the scene in Southeast Asia, Australia. I mean, that's really, there's more swim runs popping up in that region. Do you see the sport continuing to grow?
I mean, I think with Australia right next door to Bali, Australians are amazing in their appetite and in their appetite for endurance events. I mean, it's being a Brit where we're not so naturally athletic as the Aussies. It's amazing to see yeah, the community in Australia around endurance is amazing, and I'm sure Australia's building out more events, and I'm sure they'll be really, really successful. There's the Rottnest swim run, which I've heard really good things about. So obviously Bali is a really popular destination for Australians, especially Western Australians from Perth. So I think I've got no doubt that Aussies are going to only get more into endurance sport, and the sport's going to grow. I do think there's I think it takes time for people to understand what the sport is and experience it, and for those roots to be put down and for the thing to really thrive. I just think it takes time, doesn't it? And I think part of the success of the sport seems to be just how inspiring what Michael and Matt did with Otelo. It's just it just evolved organically. It obviously caught people's imagination. People just absolutely loved it, and so the more people experience it, the better for the sport. It's hard. I think it just takes time, doesn't it? I think, and the same with events. I think it takes an event probably 3 iterations to be commercially sustainable. I think you have to go into it with, look, I'm in this for the long haul. I really want to create something that's going to last, and then you just have to put the work in. So yeah, hopefully there's that depth of community that can that builds in Australia and Australasia and Southeast Asia, because there's amazing locations for it. I'm sure Thailand would be fantastic for a swim run as well. So I'm not sure if there is one there yet, but there should be.
I feel like I might have seen something in Thailand, but I'm not 100% sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We see a lot of stuff.
There's one in Japan.
Japan actually has a pretty good
We think that there's
community.
one in Hong Kong area, but not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely, it's funny because, we love the sport and we think it's great and all that stuff, but it's such a small piece of kind of the endurance landscape. It's really just, from a percentage perspective, it's probably completely just negligible, to be honest.
Yeah.
Probably in like the 1.5% of endurance events would be swim runs, if that. But yeah, I mean, I think when the attitude that you're bringing to it is one of the things we love about swim run, and what we find in a lot of race directors, it's like you're going in for the right reasons. This isn't sort of like a way to monetize on the hottest new thing hitting the endurance landscape, because most people don't know it exists. So I think that's really great.
And it's definitely not a quick buck. I mean, you've got to be in it. You love it. It's if you can build an event that people love, then it becomes a sustainable project. Then fantastic. But that probably won't happen unless you're incredibly lucky for 3 to 4 years. 3 to 4 iterations until you built up the word of mouth and people knowing about it. That's the hardest bit. So yeah, I totally agree. I suppose those events just won't stick around because the organizer won't have the appetite for it. Or the bank account for it.
Right. Exactly. So let's talk a little about COVID. Obviously, the race didn't happen. Did you have any fears that it wasn't going to come back?
No. Well, not really. I mean, I was like, this is going to happen. I mean, I've still got the memories from the last time it happened was December 2019, and I've got such good memories of that. And that was the second one I did, and I was like, okay, all the work from the first one paid off. The second one was definitely better. I can't. And after that, I was really excited to do 2020, and then obviously COVID got in the way of that. But no, I was desperate to do it again.
Nice.
But so yeah, it's just it's just choosing the time, and obviously we've got different stakeholders. We've got the community on the islands, making sure they're happy for us to come back, and our charity partners that we fundraise for, getting aligned with them, and quite a lot of moving parts in our event because we do have the impact element. But no, I was desperate to do it again, and I guess my personal situation has been weird since COVID because basically being a nomad, my partner quit her job as a teacher just before COVID came. So we entered COVID with my business, with my Bali Hope project kind of in pause, and then she was out of work. So it's been a journey to keep the project going and then bring it back. And then we brought the ultra back last September, which was amazing. We had the best week ever, and then it was like, okay, brilliant. We've got another ultra this May, and then right, let's do the swim run again. And so no, I didn't have any fears about it not coming back. It's just been a bit of a journey just to kind of get through. Sure. I mean, I'm sure the Attila guys said the same, or any event organizer. It's just been, it's been just, your business just gets closed down basically. So you just have to, you have to suck it up and then hold your breath. And it's, that looking back on the pandemic now, it's like at times it was like, is this ever going to, are they ever going to let us out again? So it was, and then even actually last September, it was like, hang on, are they going to reintroduce the lockdown and all this kind of stuff? So no, there was no fear about not bringing it back. It was more just when and being able to keep the lights on until we could. So, but it seems like we're on the other side of that one. So roll on more events, and I think everybody's got, like I said, much. Everybody wants it more because we've realised how important the connection is and the activity is, and it's just. I just find the connection side of it is more and more important because we've just all been a bit more isolated, haven't we, from COVID? So without going too into a self-help talk.
Yeah, no, we're here for it. We're here for it. Well, Tom. I mean, we always put our bucket list for events is very long.
Bottomless.
And I think we need to come up with a new sort of hierarchy for a bucket list. So maybe there's like platinum bucket,
platinum
gold
level
bucket.
Okay.
And this one's right at the top. I mean, the way you describe this event, the adventure of it all, the tourist and sort of community element. I mean, it just sounds awesome. So, and this isn't sponsored content. This is honestly how I feel about it. So thank you so much for taking the time and sharing with us about Bali Hope Swimrun. We'll definitely try to get as many people to go there as possible, including ourselves if we can swing it. But thank you so much. Really appreciate you.
So good to talk to you. Love what you guys have done with your community and promoting the sport and everything around it. So no, real pleasure to connect, and I'll keep my fingers crossed to get you guys over. If there's anything I can do to support getting you two there, I'd love it, because you've obviously given a huge amount to the community. So any chance to give back to people like you is a pleasure. So
I'll just put you in touch with my wife. I can chat her up a little bit.
But head on over to bali-hope.com if you want more info there. BALI-hope.com, and find out about the endurance ultra marathon as well as the Bali Hope Swimrun that we've heard so much about. Seems like a great time.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thanks again, Tom.
Pleasure. Cheers.
Cheers. Well, that's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave a review, since that's the best way to help other people discover the show and the sport of swimrun.
Sign up for our newsletter at lowtideboys.com. That's boys with a Z. And check out our meme page at the Low Tide Boys on Instagram. If you have any suggestions for the show or questions for us, send us a DM or an email at lowtideboys@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Riding Easy Records for our show music, and of course our wives for their support and tolerance of all our swimrun activities, podcast, and other stuff.
Yeah, other stuff. Way to keep it PG. Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. Until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
Go for a run.
Then another swim.
Then another run.
And then another swim.
And then another run.
And then just keep going. Until you're done.
Or maybe can't
and
stop.
Stop.